Hi, everyone. Welcome to an episode of Breaking Rank, the podcast where we lead without permission. I am here today with my very dear friend and special guest, Tahisha Fugate. Tahisha, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
I am so excited about this podcast episode because Tahisha is not only legendary in our legal industry, but she's also been a friend, a mentor, a confidant, all of the things that you can think of. You have been that for me. So every time I knew Tahisha before I knew her name. So I'm so excited to actually have you here as a guest. I'm fangirling a little
I
bit.
swear, every time I'm around you, Diana, I'm just like, I just need to walk around with like a version, like a little miniature version of you. Like,
Put me in your pocket.
just put you in my pocket or something like that all the
Yes.
time. Like you just fill me up so much. I appreciate you.
Thank you. Well, I think part of the reason I'm so excited to have you here is because I feel like our experiences somewhat in the legal industry overlap quite a bit. And there's so much for us to dig into. I'm like, I don't even know where to start, but we're going to start somewhere. So before we get into all of the fun things about working in legal, I want to first have you tell us about you. Who is Tahisha? How did you grow up? How did you get into this industry?
Who is Tahisha? So I'm a wife, I'm a mom, I'm a friend, I'm a daughter, all the things first. I've been in the legal industry over 20 years now. I started as a marketing assistant, thought that I wanted to go to law school, got amazing advice from a mentor who, advised me to go and work in a law firm first. I don't have any, lawyers. I don't know any lawyers. I don't have any in my family. And so that was amazing advice because, after working in a firm for about 6 months, I did decide that I did not want to be a lawyer. Mm-hmm. However, I was really interested in the business of law. And so after graduating from college and actually finding out that law firms have marketing departments, and my undergrad is in marketing, so naturally going in and seeing that side of it, which no one had heard of legal marketing. Like back in the day, you think about marketing a law firm, I think people probably thought about like prepaid legal or like something like that, right? But like it's a legitimate business. Like law firms are businesses. And so I just continued along that path, joined the LMA, met wonderful people. I think it's, the work is challenging and rewarding at times, but I think honestly it's the people that keep many of us in the industry for so long and, continuing to try to advance.
Yeah. And for people who don't know what we do, how would you describe what we do? Because if you say marketing, people think advertising and graphic design and things like that, which I am not a graphic designer. I have no idea. I say business development sometimes or strategy more because people don't understand our role and why law firms are willing to pay top dollar to get people like us for their firms. So
Indeed.
what do we do?
It is a very strategic role, and there is a difference between marketing and business development. Mm-hmm. I do consider myself to be more on the business development side, although I did start on the marketing side. So the advertising, the graphic design, making things look nice, events and things like that. But business development is like literally us helping the law firms like build their books of business, helping individual attorneys build their books of business. Strategizing with them on, what clients and targeting and, all of those things that, again, you don't think about as a law firm. You just think that people need legal help. And so they pick up the phone and they call a law firm. Well, it doesn't quite work that way. Like law firms are like any other business where, you have to go out and you have to sell the business and you have to understand who your customer is and figure out ways to target those customers and also to have repeat clients and things like that in order to continue to grow the business.
Yeah. And you have been in this industry, you said, for 20 plus years, which is like mind boggling.
That's wild to me.
Because I'm at 13, 14 years in just this industry and thinking about how far the industry has come in the time that I've been a part of it. is insane. Like, I can't imagine what the early days were like for you.
Oh, the early days were, it was a lot. When I think back to like putting pitch books
Oh,
together and
yeah.
like having to bind them manually, with like a binding machine, or, even how we used to do events with no social media,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
So all of the things that are just,
Sending
all of that,
faxes.
sending faxes, receiving faxes, the way that we used to submit for things like chambers, for instance, is we're so far ahead of like where we used to be, just again with technology and social media. And social media for law firms is typically LinkedIn, right? But just, the amount of intentionality that goes into, websites and SEOs. And, even the way that we go after clients and how we do targeting, all of that has changed significantly. And even what is required of us as, marketing and business development professionals has changed a lot. Because it used to be that admin professionals would transition into marketing roles
Yeah.
because they were doing the things. They were helping the attorneys keep up with their clients. They were planning events. They were sending gifts. Some of them were handling websites, and a lot of those, when you think about like LMA Hall of Fame, for instance, a lot of those early legal marketing professionals started on the admin teams of law firms, and continue to advance. And then it got to a point where like law firms started to require MBAs and JDs in order to get into some of the management roles because
Yep.
they wanted a more sophisticated skill set. So it has come a long way.
Now, I'm just going to start out kind of controversial, but you brought up MBAs. We both have one, okay? We both have worked for people that don't have one. We both have worked for people that have less experience than we have.
Mm,
What
yeah.
has your experience been in legal? Because as somebody who has been in this industry for over 20 years, what has your experience been in seeing the shifts of the different leaders who take over the roles, the chief roles in this industry?
Well, there definitely got to a point where there was a big appetite to have leaders come in from outside of the
Mm-hmm.
legal industry. And so when we think about, some of the CMOs and, not just CMOs, but, those in like leadership positions within the marketing and business development teams, many of those professionals, because they have outside experience, they didn't have to have the MBAs. Some of those with JDs are former associates that decided that they didn't want to practice law anymore. And
Yeah.
so they saw a different way out. For those of us like me who started as a marketing assistant and kind of like had to climb my way up and like still trying to figure out like what the right path is for me, but seeing that like I needed an MBA or a JD in order to advance, and going back and working full time and nearly going to school full time at night with a kid, it was really, really hard. And so, working with leadership professionals who have not had that experience before can sometimes be a little difficult because they don't quite understand. We say this about the lawyers, but some of our leaders don't know how the sausage is made. Many of them are, leading teams of people and they've never had to do the work,
Oh, yeah.
and so that can be really hard.
Yeah. What would you say to people who are exploring careers in legal, in business development, marketing, comms? What would you say to people who are looking to kind of delve into this industry?
I do think that it is a good industry to get your feet wet. You meet a lot of amazing people, very very smart people. It is a high pressure environment, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's definitely one that's going to test your grit. It is one that is really going to have you kind of think about how you approach business. And that's a good thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
But also, you have to make sure that it's one where you're going to invest a lot of your time, a lot of yourself, because a lot is required of us in these roles. And so, every couple years going in, I think you have to evaluate, is the juice worth the squeeze? Because you will definitely, start to feel that way. And just think about what your true objectives and goals are. Because the reality of it is that, a lot of people don't want to say this. It's kind of taboo, but like we're helping like wealthy people make more money, right? Like that's exactly what we're doing. And you have to, there's going to come a point in your life where you think like, is this my purpose, right? Is this what I'm meant to do? And you're going to have to figure out, in that reconcile what is your purpose? Who are you, outside of that career?
Yeah.
Because it will soak you up.
Yeah, it
for
definitely
sure.
does that. And we talk about the concept of golden handcuffs in this industry a lot because the pay is amazing.
It is.
It's amazing pay. And you get to a point where you can't leave because a director title in legal does not even equate. I mean, it's $100,000 less outside of legal for
Yeah.
what they would pay, right? And so you get to a point where you can't leave
Yeah.
and you are in these environments. And that's what I want to kind of dig into is about the mental wellness of folks in our industry. We know that in legal, there are high levels of substance abuse, of alcoholism, of suicides. And people tend to think about that from the lawyer perspective,
Yeah.
and they don't think about it from the people who work with the lawyers every day. What has your mental health been like working in the legal industry?
Whew. Wow. we're just going to jump right in, right?
Jump right into it.
I will tell you, there have been some years where, my mental health has tanked. And I will tell you, 2025 was definitely one of those years. And I can't necessarily say it was the job or the industry per se, but I would just say everything that's just been going on in the world. And as a result of that, how our industry has responded in us being in certain spaces, how that all has affected me. I can remember probably when my son was about maybe 6 or 7 years old, so having a very young child. I was divorced at the time, and I worked at a firm that just, took me out. And I just thought that I would never, ever do this again. And it was probably one of the darkest seasons of my life. And so, you got to think in 20 years how young I was coming into this industry. I'm 45 now. So I started in this as, in my early 20s, right? And how much I've gone through personally and trying to like navigate, this like high pressure industry, the same as the lawyers, right? We're in the same industry, right?
We're staying up late working with them on pitches until 3 o'clock in the morning.
We are. Yeah. And again, when you think about law firms, the lawyers are, always up here, and sometimes the business professionals are just kind of an afterthought, right? But you're right. The reality of it is that some of us are working just as many hours as the lawyers. No, we're not tracking our time and we're not billing and things like that, but like we still have a lot of the same pressures. So it's been, some years have been better than others, but there have been some dark days.
Yeah. And I always feel like with law firms, a lot of times the focus so much is just on the attorney, right? We hear the term non-lawyer, right? And like how many other industries define somebody by what they're not,
Yeah.
right? I don't go to my accountant and say, oh, are you an accountant or a non-accountant?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
But in law firms, you're a lawyer or a non-lawyer.
Yeah.
You are defined by what you are not. And so when there's that pressure that they're billing all of these hours and you're working right alongside with them, but yet it's their mental health is the priority and our mental health is not so much, right? And you recently this year decided to take a break from legal for a little while. Tell me about what decisions led up to you taking a break.
Well, it honestly, it wasn't my decision alone. It was my doctor basically saying like, you gotta hit pause while you can make the decision, or the decision will be made for you. Right? So I have battled with hypertension since the birth of my first child. So you're talking about nearly half my life, pretty much at this point. And back in May, I worked out one day, and the next day I started to feel like this numbness on the right side of my body. But I was thinking like, oh, maybe I like lifted a heavy weight wrong or something like that, and just like ignored it. And it was a lot going on in the world by May, right? Like we were all just kind of reeling from everything that was going on. Work was just like crazy. Home was crazy. I mean, it was just like a lot going on. So I'm still like, trying to like press through. But this numbness, I mean, I could barely like lift my arm. I could barely type. I could barely, I'm like, what is going on? So just a bit of backstory. My mom had her first stroke at the age of 53. Now, as I told you, I'm 45. So at the time when this happened, I'm 44 years old. And this is going on. And I'm like, man, I need to call a doctor. So I make a doctor's appointment, and work gets super busy, and I cancel the appointment. Right?
Yeah.
Cancel the appointment, and I'm going on, and it's still not feeling right. And then I'm sleeping a lot. I mean, by the time Friday would come, when I tell you I was just like, I'm just done. I could barely get out of bed Saturday, Sunday. Didn't want to leave the house, didn't want to do anything. And I already know, I'm like, okay, like depression is setting in, which is also something that I've dealt with like majority of my life. Like I see the signs, but like it's like really nothing I can do about it. But for work, I'm like giving 110 at work, but by the time I get home, I have nothing. When I tell you, like, I'm done. And even my husband was like, yo, you need to talk to your doctor. You need to do something. Like, you need to have a conversation. So finally, after, skipping like 3 doctor's appointments, I finally get in there. They check my blood pressure, and my doctor was basically like, look, you need to figure this out. Like, she was basically that day was like, you need to go to work and tell them you need some time off that day. And I was like, oh no, I have submissions coming up. I have this coming up. And she's like, yeah, you're not going to be able to do any of that if you're passed out on the floor somewhere.
Was May?
This was May.
And you work with antitrust. So that means GCR was coming up due?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, all the things, right?
Yeah,
like we just, finished the antitrust spring meeting. Like the firm was doing a lot of events. We were just doing a lot. We had come off of the heels of like a brand new rebrand. So we were trying to like take advantage of, leveraging the rebrand. It was just a lot going on at work. And again, DEI in the legal industry, you couldn't even say it anymore.
Oh, yeah.
Well, like that was kind of part of my
we can
brand.
Say inclusion now.
We can say inclusion, but like that was kind of part of who I am in the industry. I'm at the intersection of business development and DEI. And now that is being threatened. I'm seeing firms, who were like, let's move forward, DEI, let's put all of our best people forward and give everyone opportunities to like, oh, we gotta change the name of our departments, and we gotta, we gotta change this and change that and change the website. I mean, it was a lot. So, talking to my husband, talking to my doctor, and finally, even after my doctor told me that, I was like, well, just like change my meds, right? Like just like increase my meds. And she's like, basically like, girl, like it's not the meds. Like you have to like do something different. And so I sat on it for a while because I was like, what do I say, right? And like, how does this work? And so another thing that we also don't take advantage of is like really looking into our benefits, because it is a benefit, right? That many of us don't look into until, you have a pregnancy or something like that, right? But like these benefits are always available to us to like take short-term disability or, FMLA or whatever it is. But like, there's just, unless you have a visible situation, many people don't take advantage of those.
Yeah.
So as I like started looking into it, again, at the advisement of my doctor, I was finally like, okay, I gotta do something. Because again, my husband, who is normally like, F that job, like, leave it on the elevator. He's just one of those people where he doesn't let a whole lot bother him. And so even me coming to him, like talking about work, he's just kind of like, like why are you letting this stress you out? And I'm just like, well, no, you don't understand. Like
People outside of the industry don't know what it's
they
like in the
don't know.
industry.
They
They're like,
don't
we're
know.
not curing cancer, we're not doing
Yeah.
brain surgery, but it feels like it
If
every day.
it is a lot of pressure. And he's just like, what if you just don't do the thing? And I'm like, no, 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 I got to do the thing. Because at the end of the day, and I said that's like, our parents gave us work ethic. They didn't give us trust funds, right? So I'm like, I got to do the thing because I got to keep my good paying job, But again, if you pass out somewhere, like what you gonna do?
Yeah.
So I made the decision. I, did all the paperwork. I took the leave, and I felt guilty. I felt incredibly guilty. It was 6 weeks, and it was the fastest 6 weeks of my life. And I remember being pregnant with my son back in the day. They only gave you 6 weeks, right? We just started coming up with all of this amazing 12 weeks of leave or 16 weeks of leave, but back in the day, it was 6 weeks, and you brought your behind back to work, And so the 6 weeks just went by so fast. But I mean, the first 3 weeks, so you're talking about half that leave, I felt guilty. I felt like, what are people going to think? I'm leaving my team. What is leadership going to think? Will people think that I can't handle the pressure? But it was like literally like I had to take care of myself, I had a cousin 2 years ago, 40 years old, went to work, had a heart attack, and did not return home. 40 years old. So, again, my mom and then my cousin, and now I'm walking around here and I can barely like lift my arm and I'm talking about, oh no, just increase my meds. Like, you can't operate like that.
Yeah. No, it's scary for me because I'm thinking of how eerily similar your situation sounds to where my therapist has literally begged me, Diana, take FMLA, take leave, do something. Like, you've got to do this. And I can't because I'm like, what about my team and who's going to cover my work? And what are they going to think of me when I'm gone? And am I going to still have my job? Or are they going to find a way to get rid of me when I come back? Like, all of these things were going through my mind. Were any of those things going through yours as
All
well?
of them. All of the things were going through my mind. And I couldn't even it literally took me 3 weeks to be like, okay, Tahisha, like seriously, if you don't put your mask on, you can't help anybody else. Like literally me like repeating that to myself, like this is the best thing that you can do for yourself, because you're not going to be any good to your family. You're not going to be any good to your that firm or any other place that you go if your blood pressure is sky high, and again, like somebody walks into your desk and you passed out somewhere. So it was really hard. Like I'm not even gonna front. Like it was really, really hard to take that time.
It took like your first 3 weeks just to even be able to get comfortable before you could even relax to get the benefit of your 6 weeks that you were having.
Yeah, and it's hard because when you go out on short-term disability or FMLA, like your employer is not supposed to contact you. You're not supposed to be checking emails. You're literally supposed to be off the grid.
That like freaks me out. Like I'm like freaked out about that.
Seriously, and again,
I can't imagine.
And so, I took this back in the summer, and it used to be that in the summer months or close to Christmas, things would slow down, right? But like in our industry, there has not been a slowdown in many, many years. So like taking this leave was probably not the most convenient for anyone, but it was literally like, I got to make a decision now. And honestly, when I made the decision, it's like, it's now or never, because I'm going to just talk myself out of it, and I'm never going to do it.
Yeah. So while you were on this leave, what insights did you gain from being away from work, from not being allowed to check your email? Did you have any breakthroughs, or what did you learn from this experience?
That days go by really, really fast, right? Like even when you're not working, you can wake up at 8 a.m. and before you know it, it's 5 o'clock. Like the day goes by just like that. And so everything that we do in addition to work, it is hard to fit it all in. It's hard to fit in exercise and seeing your therapist and keeping up with doctor's appointments and picking the kids up and, making dinner and spending time with your significant others. Like, it's hard to fit all of those things in, and we're all trying to do it.
Yeah.
And that is a lot. Right. So like that was like one thing that I really had to put into perspective. As much as I beat myself up about all the things that I'm not able to accomplish, it is literally impossible. And you have to prioritize. You really do. During that time, it was really time for me to get organized around, again, keeping my doctor's appointments. I was already in therapy, but like therapy got to a point where it wasn't working. Like I'm talking to my therapist every week, but like before that leave, it just wasn't working. Like I think I was just going in and it was kind of like a bitch session.
Yeah.
And so during that time, it was more intentional about, okay, what is it that is really bothering you? What are the triggers? What are the things that are like keeping you up at night? Also like really digging into like perimenopause. Like, let's be real. My insomnia was like, it was the worst it had ever been. On average, I was getting like 2 hours of sleep a night, right? So you, again, no sleep, high blood pressure, night sweats, like brain fog. I mean, all the things. I was like really struggling.
Yeah.
Really struggling. And then, on top of all of that is the depression, right? So it was a lot. So, having time to just say, okay, my full-time job right now is going to be like my health and well-being, right? I'm getting up in the morning, I'm exercising, I'm meditating, I'm praying, I'm keeping my therapist appointments, I'm keeping my doctor's appointments. I'm actually checking my blood pressure every day like I'm supposed to, and like tracking the way that I'm supposed to. I'm tracking my sleep, like all the things that like we're supposed to do, but we don't have time to do because we're so busy and you're exhausted at the end of the day. I was very intentional about doing those things. And I did see like a real benefit, like seriously. And also it was kind of sad because honestly, those things are hard to keep up when you're working.
Yeah, when you're back into it. And the thing that is crazy about this is that throughout this whole time, I had no idea that you were going through this. Like I knew the weight of the work was falling on you, but I had no idea that like to the outside world, you were professional and poised, and we served on the board we serve on the international board together, right? And you're taking on these leadership functions and leading roundtables and doing all the things and doing it all with poise and grace, as you always do. And then I think it was random. I texted you or something one day and you were like, I'm actually on a leave.
Yeah.
And I was like, what?
Yeah.
Tahisha is on a leave? And to be honest, it was like a quiet permission for me because I was like, I had been contemplating for so long, should I take a leave? But I was terrified of it. So to see someone in this industry who I respect and admire that was taking that step, to me was like, okay, maybe it's okay if I need to do this, like maybe that's okay. So what would you say to people in our industry who are thinking about their mental wellness and thinking about taking a break or a pause? What advice would you give them?
Take care of yourself first. You have to put your mask on first. And I know it can be a bit cliche, but like that is just the honest to God truth. Like you are of no benefit to anyone else if you can't be there for yourself fully, right? Like in your right frame of mind, feeling, that you're your best possible self. And you have to sometimes like say, forget what anyone else is going to think about this. Like, I have to do this for me. Like, your wellness, you have to be selfish about it. You really do. And again, that's hard to do, especially, going back to the industry. Like, we're very like client centric, customer service focused. We're like serving others all the time, right? And everything. So whether it's home or work, those in the industry, that's the core of like who we are. And so really being selfish is hard for a lot of us.
Yeah, it's very hard, especially in this industry where you get rewarded because you worked all weekend.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh, Diana worked until 3 a.m. on Saturday. Kudos, everyone, give her kudos. And they're grooming us, right, for
Yep.
this way of life
Mm-hmm.
that rewards working late nights and being able to say, oh, yeah, I didn't sleep last night because I was working on this pitch. But then on the same hand, they're like, oh, mental wellness. And so you're like kind of thrown between, well, what am I supposed to do here? Am I supposed to take care of myself, or am I supposed to show them how dedicated I am?
It is
Like,
hard.
where do you find the balance?
It's hard. When my mom had her stroke, of course, like I'm the oldest and I'm the next of kin, so I got to handle all the stuff, and I'd never gone through that before. My mom had so much leave because my mom wore it like a badge of honor that she had all this leave. My mom had so much leave. She did not even have to take disability for a year.
Wow.
And I'm like, that was such a liability for the company that she had that much leave. A whole year. A whole year. And guess what? When she had that stroke, she ended up having to, she was forced to retire. Unprepared.
Wow.
Unprepared for retirement. And my mom would wear that like a badge of honor. Because again, they gave us work ethic.
Yes, yes. And
You
teaching
know?
us, that, and that's the most important thing, right? That we're defined in some way by our work ethic versus like, why are we guarding our work more than we're guarding our personal selves, our
Indeed.
bodies, our wellness?
Indeed. And it doesn't make you a slacker to take a break, right? To like catch your breath. You have to. You
Yeah.
have to. And so, really changing my mindset and kind of getting out of that a bit. Like, it doesn't make me less than if today I don't have capacity.
Yeah.
If today, like, I really do, like, honestly need to catch my breath. I can't be in 10 meetings and still expected to do all the things. I know now, again, at 45 years old, I'm not built to be staying up till 2 and 3 in the morning, working, and then getting back up at 6 and doing it all over again. Like, I need 2 to 3 business days to recover if I have a long night, like I do.
No, I love that because I'm an insomniac, and so I've just, for some weird reason, my sleep habits tend to work well with legal because I'm up all night and then I get up in the morning and I'm ready to go again. And so this topic is just so important to me because it also scares me and warns me about what the consequences could be if I continue in a pattern like this. I want to shift gears for a moment and talk about just someone like you who has been in this industry for over 20 years as a Black woman. And we are in groups, Black women in legal marketing. We have our meetup at the annual conference, the LMA annual conference every year. And we get to meet with other Black women who are in this industry.
And Black men now too.
And Black men, we've adopted a couple sons,
We
I
have.
think, in this industry as well. So it's, we're welcoming to them. What has your experience been like as a Black woman working in legal?
It's been a very interesting experience, very isolating at times. Before this group, I would often be the only one in these departments, and sometimes, depending on the firm, you might be one of few, at the firm. So again, coming across, great leaders like Tony Wells, for instance, who, was my boss back in the day.
She was your boss?
She was my boss.
Oh,
back
I
in the
did
day.
not know that.
Yeah.
Wow.
And,
Shout
boss.
out to Tony Wells.
Shout out to Tony. But turned very good friend and mentor. But like seeing so she was one of the first, women that I saw that looked like me, had a similar background, similar, struggle in this industry and trying to advance, and just kind of took me under her wing and, and invited me in rooms, like just to listen in, right? She was one of the first leaders that I had that just had no pride in ownership, And that's important. And so I think that finding other women that we can, pay it forward, and do the same things for is really important. Because again, we sit in some of these departments, and it's a lot of people that's been in legal for just as long as I have been in legal, and I've never met them before because we've been so behind the scenes,
So siloed
so
and yeah.
siloed. So it's been nice. And again, and I said this earlier, I think that the people play a big role in like how we continue to press forward.
Yeah.
In this industry.
This community that we've created is so supportive. We support each other's endeavors, we support each other's passion projects. Like it's an industry that we created because no one created it for us.
Yeah.
And we keep it going ourselves,
Yeah.
right? And it's interesting, when you talk about being the only one, because let's just face it, as Black women, we're the only one most of the time in the rooms that we're in. I can look around in my departments, I will be the only Black woman. I can look around in the meetings I'm at, and I'm the only Black woman. And it was interesting to me. I was at a firm, and I had one of my direct reports was a lawyer, and she was thinking about leaving the firm, and she got an offer. And I was like, well, things are getting real shitty at this firm. Like, maybe it's time for you to go. And she said, I'm not leaving because I've never had a Black boss before. And I was like, wow, as this
Oof.
Black woman lawyer is telling me she's going to stay in this crappy situation
Pressure.
because she had never had a Black boss before. And she sure did turn down the offer and stayed. And then when she got her other offer, I was like, you got to take this offer. Like, you know what I mean? Because I'm on my way out.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? You've
Kick
got to
her
take
under the
this
table,
offer.
like-
Yes, And we've still been close till, for this whole time. And we support each other. We, are references for each other. We catch up every once in a while. But it's so interesting because the toll of being the only one is a toll. Like after a while, you get kind of tired of it. And I'm someone who grew up in the Midwest where I was the only one sometimes in town, you know what I mean? Let alone in an office space. But coming to DC, Chocolate City, when you're still the only one and you're like, what?
Yeah, it is wild. I mean, I grew up in the DMV, right? And I work with a lot of people that don't have the background or experience that I have growing up in the DMV. And so, again, even being in these circles and like thinking about that, right? My people, they don't have a summer home, right? My first time being on an airplane was in my 20s traveling for work. So a lot of times we're like working with these people very closely and seeing, many people more than like we see our families, and you have nothing in common with them. It really takes a toll on you, not to mention, all of the, stereotypes that come with being a Black woman, right? In a professional setting. You got all of the things that we have to think about, the way that you speak, your hair, your nails, how you wear your clothes, depending on how shapely you are. I mean, the number of things that we have to think about before even walking into work is exhausting.
It's so exhausting.
And then you spend, 8 to 12 hours, depending on your day, constantly thinking about these things all day long. Do I speak up in a meeting? Do I disagree with this idea? Do I bring this idea forward? Going to, an event and trying to network. What do I talk about? How do I introduce myself in a room full of lawyers when I'm the non-lawyer? Will they think I'm as smart as them? Will they think
the Black non-lawyer.
And the Black non-lawyer. It's a lot.
It is.
It's a lot.
It's exhausting. And it's so crazy for me because when I look at you, you are always so poised and elegant and graceful and like all of the things. Like I am rough and unrefined and like blah, you know what I mean? Just kind of out there. And you're always so composed that I would never even know that you were fighting any of these battles or these struggles outside of, us being friends and getting to know each other. You were always somebody that I looked at as wanting to exemplify that executive presence and that whole, which that's a whole argument whether executive presence is a thing or if it's just a construct that men built to keep us trapped into, feeling like we need to be a certain way. But I've always looked at you kind of as a role model in this industry. Like I said, I knew you before I ever knew you by name because you were all over the place, particularly when it came to DEI and anything in the legal industry related to DEI, your name always came up. And so I'm hearing your story and your struggles, and it's shocking to me in a way because if you poised, graceful, elegant Tahisha is going through all of this, like what are the other folks in our industry going through? What should we be doing? Should we be reaching out more? Should we be trying to mentor and guide? I mean, what would your advice be for other folks in this industry who are experiencing burnout or just experiencing needing a pause or just working in this industry? What
Yeah.
should we be doing?
All the things, just like you said, like mentoring, being mentored, right? Finding your community, finding your, professional board of directors
Yep.
that will, give you advice and kind of help you and guide you. Whatever your method of, prayer is or whatever you believe in, like keeping that hope and keeping that belief because that is going to sustain you. And again, like thinking about your own values and objectives and what you really want to get out of this. I tell people all the time, like our names will never be on the doors. We're not partners in these firms. While, we're working just as hard, trying to, advance the goals and objectives of the firms, we have to have our own goals and objectives as well. To, keep us grounded in this, right? Like you have to figure out your why. And it could be your family. It could be paying your student loans back. It could be, buying your first home because, you're the person in your family that, everyone is depending on. A lot of us have that story, like whatever your why is, like staying grounded in that, staying grounded in your values. Me showing up the way that I do, I've never felt like I had to become a different person in these environments. Like that's literally just who I am, right? Like I am very kind of non-confrontational, right? Like I just want peace. I want to come in, I want to do a good job, and I want to go home, right?
Yeah.
I don't need the spotlight. I just don't need complication. And being in this industry for so long is like, well, how have you been able to maintain? And that's it. I had a partner give me the best compliment ever. And it just like came out of nowhere. We were working on something and it was like very high pressured and like people were just kind of going off the rails. And he was like, "You're so like unflappable." And I was like, "Well, thank you." Because at the end of the day, like, I got enough gray hair. Like, y'all not about to stress me out. Like, and I know that when I start to like really get stressed out and when I start to like internalize all of the chaos that's going on around me, like it's really time for me to catch my breath because that's not who I am. I'm the person, I sit in my house. I love being home. I love being in the house where it's quiet, reading a book. Like I can chill and be quiet all day long.
Yeah.
And I like to observe. And that's just kind of who I am. I speak when I actually have something to say. I don't need to be the loudest person in the room, And so, again, when I start feeling like I got to poke my chest out and I got to, again, like get chaotic, I'm like, that's not me. Like I gotta take a step back.
Yeah. What's one thing that people think they know about you, but they're off the mark?
That's a good question. Maybe that I'm probably more extroverted than I am.
You think people think that you're more extroverted than you really are?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's because, again, so you said like, you knew about me before you knew about me, right? Before you knew who I was. And I think because of that, like, even going back to, doing certain podcasts or like just kind of being out in center, like that's not me for real, right? My circle is like super small.
Yep.
Again, like I'm in the house most of the time, like despite the reels you see on social media, right? Like for the most part, I'm in the house, I'm
She's in the
chilling.
house except for those reels.
Except for those reels, right? I'm sitting on my front porch or, on my back deck, like I'm chilling. I got a glass of wine, I read my book, and I'm quiet.
Wow. And let's talk about your husband for a minute. I love your husband.
He's my
I know
favorite
this
person.
sounds so crazy, but like your husband is so supportive and so in love with you. Like it is so obvious when you guys are around each other or together, like whether we're hanging out at a cigar bar or whether we're, just wherever we're at, it is just the love that you guys share is like palpable. And how has Mr. Fugate been a support during your time in legal?
He is my favorite person. Like
Mhm.
honestly, like he keeps me grounded. Again, he's one of the people in my life to be like F it all, right? Like, and I know. I mean, honestly, I could come home tomorrow and be like, you know what, I'm done with all of this, and my husband would be like, we're gonna figure it out,
Mhm.
So just giving me confidence, grounding me, like making me laugh when I need to laugh,
Mhm.
making sure, simple things like that I eat. My husband is so considerate, right?
Yeah.
I even think about having a long day at work, and during the holidays, my husband drives and he works overnight,
Mhm.
right? And so I'm driving home and I'm like, oh, like I done took that chicken out. I don't feel like cleaning it. I don't feel like, doing the
Mhm.
thing because I hate being in the kitchen. And I come home and the chicken is clean and seasoned and all I got to do is put it in the oven. I'm like, oh, yes, thank you. So it's stuff like that. And that's just like who he is. He's
Mhm.
the most authentic person that I know. Like he stands on business all the time.
Mhm.
He is who he says he is. We met, we got engaged after 3 months. We were married 9 months of knowing each other, right? And
Wow.
I am not a risk taker like that at all. That was probably the riskiest thing I've ever done in my life, but 13 years later, it has been the most rewarding, right? We've
Mm.
literally made a decision like we're gonna get to know each other as we go, and it has just been uncomplicated. It's
Yes.
been uncomplicated. He's my best friend, like he's my homie. We hang out, like we actually still like each other.
Yes.
And I know like I'm just incredibly blessed. It's my second marriage. And so I understand I am much more mature. We've both done the work.
Mhm.
And I'm like, I wish every area of my life was like as uncomplicated as my marriage.
Wow, that is not a statement that you hear from people. But I bring that up because your relationship is so beautiful. It's aspirational in my opinion. I love how he loves you. I remember our first board meeting together and you talked about how he took you on a trip to like Aruba or something and planned a second wedding for you guys and did it all in surprise, and he's just amazing. And so having that support system is so critical
Hmm.
to being able to maintain your mental wellness. Like to
Yeah.
have somebody that supports you, that you, like you said, will be there for you no matter what you decide to do,
Hmm.
is really inspirational. So I had to give a shout out to your husband
Oh,
because he's such a
thank
good
you.
guy.
He will
Yes.
appreciate that. And also my accountability partner.
Mm-hmm.
If I put it out there that I want to do something, he will like pull my coattail and be like, you said you wanted to do this thing. You said you wasn't going to be checking emails after 10. It's
Mm-hmm.
10:01. Put your phone away.
Yeah. No, I love that so much. Um, Well, thank you so much for being a guest
Oh,
today. Is
thanks for
there
having
anything else
me.
that we didn't touch on that you feel we should cover? Any last parting
I
words of
mean,
advice?
this could be a 2-hour podcast.
Oh, yeah.
But I will tell you that I am just so inspired by how brave you've been, always. But like this year, especially, this has been a hard year for so many people. And so you deciding that the dam has broke And I am going to put myself out there. I'm going to start this podcast. I'm going to say the things that no one else wants to say. I'm going to, peel back the onion.
Yep.
It's so brave at a time like this. And we need your voice. We need your courage because we need that energy as we go into 2026, where we want to see the terms and conditions
Yes.
before we sign up. But,
Yes.
seeing you, just really put yourself out there. I am truly inspired, and I'm so glad that we are friends. So thank
Oh,
you.
thank you so much. So tell me a moment where you feel like you've broken rank. What does breaking rank mean to you?
Breaking rank to me means going off the grid. And so I will tell you that this experience that we are talking about now was me breaking rank, right? Like me taking a pause in order to move forward in a more healthy way, despite, what was going on in my mind, not, talking myself out of doing what I needed to do for my health and well-being. And so that's breaking rank, and hopefully that inspires others to be able to do the same if their health calls for it, if their mental well-being calls for it. Just really taking the pause.
Yeah. I hope we all can break rank to take care of ourselves. If ever we break rank, it's for that,
Yeah,
definitely.
for sure.
So, thank you everyone for tuning in. If you haven't already, please subscribe, engage, like, comment, share with your friends. This has been another episode of Breaking Rank, and we can't wait for you to join us next time.